Good evening and welcome to News 9. I'm Nolan Pinto. Now, a massive fire has broken out at a chemical factory in Pina today. The reason for the fire is yet to be ascertained, but it has led to a damage worth lakhs of rupees. In fact, you can see the fire force personnel over here going about their work of trying to douse the flames. Now, considering the fact that it is a chemical factory, they've had to wear protective gear as well as oxygen and gas masks to protect themselves while they enter in order to not breathe in the dangerous chemical-filled air inside. You can see while they're going about with their work, plumes of thick black air coming out, or thick black smoke blowing out of the windows.
In a second stage, Anglo, that laboratory has got a fire. So immediately we took 3 vehicles to the spot, fire spot. And as soon as we reached the spot, immediately our officer has requested once again to 2 more vehicles for extinguish the fire because the fire in the chemical storage room. So immediately we took fire vehicles and we used our foam material for particular that. So because most of the materials what they store is alcohol contents. For that reason we used our foam materials and we took on the 1 hour to extinguish the fire. Ultimately, our officer has done a good work, staff and officers.
So what is the reason for the
Most probably that the chemical reactions, most probably, because that is whatever the fire is there, it is only the laboratory, the content of the laboratory. So mostly it is chemicals things only, mostly the chemically, wrongly, the mixed it, most probably, I don't know, I have to be know about that, I have to ask for the concerned people.
In fact, a senior officer clearly stating that the fire could have started due to a chemical reaction. He says that the fire force personnel and investigators will have to go about their work to try and figure out what really happened. But as of now, he says it could be, again, could be due to a chemical reaction. Maybe wrong chemicals were mixed that led to this particular fire. Now, it took them more than an hour to actually douse the flames, and they had to use protective instruments while dousing these flames. Now you can see there plumes of smoke billowing out from the top floor. Now, especially when it's a chemical fire, it's not easy for the fire force personnel to go about with their work. Primarily because it's hazardous, and 2, they will be breathing in this toxic air. And that's the reason you can see the that particular fire force personnel going ahead wearing a gas mask. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Akshita. Akshita, the senior fire officer stated that it could have been due to some chemical reactions, but what are our sources telling us regarding this?
Well, as of now, Nolan, investigations are still on. There's no confirmation on what could have led to this particular fire. In fact, as you heard earlier, one of the fire officials did state that the basic suspicion is that it could have been due to some of the chemicals present in that particular factory. But of course, we are awaiting a confirmation in that particular regard. Investigations will only reveal what exactly happened. But fortunately, nobody was killed in this particular incident. 2 workers, however, were injured in this particular fire. Nolan, they have been rushed to a private hospital and are being treated at the same. We are awaiting more information on their condition, on whether in fact they are in a critical condition or well on the road to recovery. What we do understand is that about five fire tenders are present there. They are going ahead and trying to douse the flames. It's not an easy task, Nolan, considering of course that it is a chemical factory. The fire officials have to ensure that they take all the necessary precautionary measures. This was in Pena, right next to a TVS showroom. So, of course, the officials will also try to ensure that that particular fire doesn't spread any further. But but also at the same time, Nolan, even as investigations are on, what the fire department has realized is that this particular chemical factory did not have any of the safety measures in place. They did not have an NOC, and of course, there is no doubt that the owner is going to face some strict action post this. But mounting incidents coming to light, Nolan, where we're looking at a breach of safety measures, and that leading to such fires, which in turn lead to deaths, lead to casualties and victims, all because of the recklessness of one person. It looks like more and more such incidents are coming to light, and the fire department also noticing that in all these cases, no safety measures in place. There's been no certificate, no NOC certificate also given out. So it clearly looks like that lack of safety measures has definitely proven to be fatal for this particular owner and his factory, because we're not just looking at 2 workers being injured. God alone knows the kind of damages we're looking at. It could easily run into lakhs, considering it is a chemical factory as well,
Right.
Nolan.
Now, Akshita, how long did it take for the fire force personnel to douse the flames?
Well, as of now, it looks like the fire has been doused, Nolan. No word on exactly how long it took, but estimated that it's about 1 or 2 hours long. But of course, this particular fire was spotted by passers-by. They immediately called in the fire tenders. They rushed to the spot. 2 people were injured. They have been rushed to a private hospital. So clearly, the fire department working on an overdrive there. And post this, the question is, what led to this particular fire? Was it in fact some sort of mistake that led to it, or exactly was it arson? In fact, is something they will look into. But also the owner will face some strict action post this incident, considering that there was a clear breach of a law there, Nolan.
No, it's very surprising, Akshita, because this is not some ramshackle industry. It's a huge building. It's right there for everyone to see, and still they're functioning without an NOC.
Absolutely, no. It almost shows the kind of a lack of ignorance between these particular people. More than anything else, in the last many incidents we have seen that in every single case of a fire breaking out, there clearly seems to be a breach of safety measures. This is just yet another incident, yet another name to be added to that particular list. It almost seems like there is a carelessness among the owners, that there is no need to have an NOC certificate, that they can run their businesses with absolutely no sort of headache of owning that particular certificate and no repercussions of the same. In fact, even as several officials are out there trying to ensure that each and every one of these factories, each and every one of these offices and departments do have the necessary documents, they do in fact sometimes miss out on a few, and these people, these owners, managers and the likes, do not realize that at the end of the day it is their factory, it is their office and organization that is at risk by the breach of this particular law, Nolan.
Right, and Akshita, what's the condition of the injured? Are we getting any information from the hospital?
Well, as of now, we are awaiting more information on that regard. All we do know is that the injured, 2 of them, are being treated at a private hospital, and we are awaiting more information on their condition. We do not know whether they are in a critical state, whether they are, in fact, just suffered minor burns. But of course, we will give you more on that post sometime once we get in the updates from the hospital authorities, Nolan.
Right, Akshita, thank you very much for all that information. In fact, fire has broken out at a chemical factory. Now, thankfully, the fire force personnel have brought it under control. Now, 2 people have been injured in this. We still do not know the type of injuries they have sustained. But the chief fire officer, speaking to our reporter over there, states that it could have been due to a wrong chemical reaction that took place. The chief electoral officer of Karnataka, Anil Kumar Jha, is addressing the media. Let's listen into that.
ರಾತ್ರಿ 12 ಇಲ್ಲ 48 ಅವರ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. 48 ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ನಿಷೇಧ ಏನಿದೆ, ಮೆರವಣಿಗೆ ಇದು ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಪ್ರಚಾರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಒಪಿನಿಯನ್ ಪೋಲ್ ಮಾಡೋದು, ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಎಲ್ಲರಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದೇ ಫಾರ್ಮುಲಾ ಇದೆ. 48 ಅವರ್ಸ್ ಬಿಫೋರ್ ದಿ ಕ್ಲೋಸರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೋಲ್. ಸೊ ಶೆಡ್ಯೂಲ್ಡ್ ಕ್ಲೋಸರ್ ಆಫ್ ಪೋಲ್ ಈಸ್ 6 PM ಆನ್ 17th April. ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದಿ ಎಂಡ್ ಅವರ್. ಆವಾಗಲೂ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ಜನ ಬಂದಿರ್ತಾರೆ, ಅವರಿಗೆ ನಾವು ಮತ ಚಲಾಯಿಸೋಕೆ ಅವಕಾಶ ಕೊಡ್ತೀವಿ. But the hours for poll will be 7 AM to 6 PM. So 6 PM 17th April ಇಂದ ಮುಂಚಿತವಾಗಿ 48 ತಾಸು ಯಾವಾಗಿಂದ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಆವಾಗಿಂದ ಇದು ನಿರ್ಬಂಧನೆ ಏನೇನಿದೆ ನಿಷೇಧ ಅದೆಲ್ಲ ಅನ್ವಯಿಸುತ್ತೆ.
6 ಗಂಟೆ ನಂತರ ಅಭ್ಯರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಡೋರ್ ಟು ಡೋರ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೋಬಹುದು.
ಹೌದು, ಇವತ್ತು 6 ಗಂಟೆ ನಂತರ ಅಭ್ಯರ್ಥಿಗಳು ಡೋರ್ ಟು ಡೋರ್ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಬಹುದು. ಆದರೆ ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಬೇಡಿ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮದು ಸಲಹೆ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಮತ್ತು ಯಾವುದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಜನರಿಗೆ ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗಬಾರ್ದು. ಪೀಪಲ್ ಶುಡ್ ನಾಟ್ ಕಂಪ್ಲೇನ್ ದಟ್ ದೇ ಆರ್ ಬೀಯಿಂಗ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟರ್ಬ್ಡ್. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬಹಳ ಕಡಿಮೆ ಸಂಖ್ಯೆಯಲ್ಲಿ 3-4 ಜನ ಹೋಗಿ ಕಾಂಟ್ಯಾಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ನಿಷೇಧ ಆ ಥರ ಏನೂ ಇಲ್ಲ.
Well, in fact, the Anil Kumar Jha over there, the Chief Electoral Officer, stating that when people asked him about 48 hours, he says that it's 48 hours before the scheduled closure of polls on the 17th of April. Now, in fact, moving on, N. Srinivasan, the suspended BCCI president, today filed an affidavit in the Supreme Court questioning his removal from the top post of the Indian Cricket Board. Srinivasan also alleged collusion between the former BCCI president, A.C. Muttaya, and Bihar Cricket Association's Aditya Verma, who had filed the petition. Now, on March 28, the Supreme Court had ordered removal of Srinivasan as BCCI president for a fair probe into the IPL spot fixing and betting scandal, in which Srinivasan's son-in-law and former CSK team principal Gurunath Mayappan's involvement has been proved. Now, as per Supreme Court's order, Srinivasan, the India Cements and Chennai Super Kings owner, then stepped aside as the Apex Court appointed Sunil Gavaskar and Shivlal Yadav to look after IPL and BCCI's operations, respectively. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by my colleague Michael. Michael, what exactly is Srinivas's problem now?
Well, he feels he has been wronged, Nolan. He also feels that, according to the law, he says he is not under any inquiry or probe. So there was no reason for him to be kept away from his office. He thinks the Supreme Court has passed a wrong decision, so he's asked the Supreme Court to reconsider its decision. He says like he said, he's not under any probe. It is his son-in-law who was involved. But the Supreme Court had a different view. They said that he has no right to continue in office even after all the allegations against his son-in-law and India Cements. Now that's what, on a technicality, Srinivasan says that he is not, like I said, he's not under any probe, so there's no reason for him to be kept away from office. And he feels this whole scenario has been set up. He says people with vested interests are trying to get him away from the BCCI president's post. They said he said that now the petitioner in this whole case was Aditya Verma of the Cricket Association of Bihar. He alleges that Verma and the former BCCI president A.C. Muttaya had joined hands and were trying to remove him as president of the BCCI. Now, this is what the whole scenario is, and he said he feels he is not at fault at all, and he thinks the Supreme Court has given a wrong decision, Nolan.
Now, Michael, do you suppose that if this continues, he out of the top post in the BCCI, it could hurt his prospects internationally?
It's not really, Nolan. If he's in the right, if he can prove it in a court of law that he is in the right, then there is no reason why he should be why these things should be held against him in the future. But if he's involved, or if his family is involved, that would tarnish his reputation, and that could probably affect him in the future. But till there is a decision by the court on him or his family members that they were involved in match fixing and betting, till the court gives a clear judgment on that, I don't think why he should be held responsible for any of these things which are happening at the moment with regards to the IPL, Nolan.
Now, Michael, he has also made a statement, if I have to quote him, if you could explain that. He says, unfair to ask India Cements employees in BCCI to stand down. India Cements employees in BCCI stand tarnished in the eyes of the public, unquote. This is what he has stated.
Yes, that's what he feels, that if the Supreme Court seems to have erred somewhere, they seem to have got the wrong inputs, and they have taken a decision based on that. Now, so he feels he is not wrong, neither is his company wrong, unless it is proved in a court of law. He claims himself to be not guilty, neither his family members. So he says unnecessarily his reputation is getting tarnished, and he's again blaming it on vested interests, Nolan.
Right, Michael, thank you very much for all that.